Welcome back to the Dialing for Dollars podcast, where we talk about life insurance, sales, and everything that happens between the first dial and the death benefit. I'm Corey Mitchell. Each week I sit down with fellow agents, top performers, entrepreneurs, and industry leaders to unpack what actually works to help new agents win faster. This week I'm excited about our guest. Whitney Denton is the Director of Operations for Sniper Insurance and really all things Kaden Sanchez. And she is a wealth of knowledge and really, I think, is a great resource for what we're going to talk about today, which is growing and scaling an agency. So, Whitney, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I was excited when you asked me to be on.
Yeah, it was. I always try to figure out a theme or what I want to have a guest on to talk about, and scaling is something that's been on my mind lately. And I'm always going to you for the questions. So I'm like, let's just put it on, let's
Yeah,
record it.
let's do it.
So before we get into it, just tell the audience how you got here. What brought you into insurance, or what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I will make a very long story short. So I have been a single mom my entire parenting journey. And so I was working, remote corporate America, and they did a come back to the office. And my son was about a year and a half old, and I was just not okay with daycare. To each their own, no judgment. But for me, I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and so I started, just reaching out to friends. And I'm from San Diego, California, and so like there's a lot of entrepreneurial type people there that I am friends with. And so I'd reached out, like, what are you guys doing? How are you working from home? Like, what are we doing? I will do whatever it takes to be a stay-at-home mom. And so I'd connected with a childhood friend who was in life insurance. And she was like, yeah, like, let me refer you to my upline. And so I'd come onto this team. It was with, a three-letter IMO that we probably all know. And so I joined them first. And, I didn't know my head from my ass. I'd always said my entire life I would never be in sales, which is the funniest thing ever to me now.
Right.
I was like, I hate salespeople. I will never be in sales. And she told me that's what she was doing. And I was like, you know what? Let me give it a go. Like, what's it gonna hurt? And so, I joined this. I started making dials. I was dialing aged leads. It was the worst thing in the entire world. Thankfully, at the time, my upline was scaling and needed an EA. And so I became his EA, and I was still kind of dialing and setting appointments on the side. Um, and he actually is the one that found Kaden. And so he was struggling a little bit with training our agents with our team. And so he had found Kaden. We'd end up joining Kaden's agency. And we worked there for probably like 6 months to a year with Kaden. Kaden knew a little bit about my situation as a stay-at-home mom. My time was limited, and insurance is just hard when your time is that limited. It was only a
Yeah.
couple hours a week. It wasn't much at all. And so he'd actually referred me to this high ticket offer that he was starting to build a team on. And so I sold for them for a little bit. And then Caden scaled a lot. He started blowing up a little bit, and he was like, hey, you know what? That the former upline I had that I was working for, it just like didn't work out. And so I was like, hey, like, it seems like you have a need for an EA. Like, my background previous to sales was in operations for retail stores. Like, that's what I was doing with corporate America, was like kind of back end stuff. And so we ended up just like working together, and he hired me on. And so, our working relationship has evolved crazy. I started just kind of like doing the emails, the basic tasks. Um, and yeah, now it's funny. Caden some days doesn't even know what I do. He's like, I don't even know what you do all day. You just kind of make things happen. So that's,
Yeah.
I guess, start to finish, the shortest version I could give you.
Yeah. Kaden has built such an awesome brand, and people recognize him all over the industry as being a top
Yeah.
tier trainer. But you make so much of that happen, editing social media content and keeping him on schedule and making sure that none of his agents fall off the grid or fall off the planet. It's incredible what you do behind the scenes. And within our Empower Life group, everyone knows Whitney. You're visible, you're there, you're always there. I think there's a lot of other VAs in the group that nobody knows about. So, kudos for that too.
Yeah.
We
Thank
talked
you.
about it. We talked about it a little bit. I feel like my skill set is really more in leadership and coaching, more so than sales. And I really have been thinking a lot about when do I figure out if it's time to start recruiting and scaling. So I really wanted to have you on to talk about how to do that. There's so many pitfalls, ins and outs, guardrails. What don't
Yes.
I know? Like, I guess let's just start like with licensing. I'm just a producer right now. Do I have to be licensed as an agency, or can I just recruit people under me as a producer? I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah, to answer your first question is yes, you can just be a solo producer. You can have an individual license and have people onto your team. The thing you would have to do is like whatever their resident state is, you do have to be licensed in that state to be able to onboard them under you.
Okay.
Um, but you do also have the option, like Kaden does this, where we have the agency as well that is licensed. And so it's basically you have an LLC, you license it for life insurance. Um, it really is a personal preference. Like everybody's going to do it a little bit differently. The pros to licensing your LLC is going to be primarily tax benefits. And I'm not a CPA. I'm not going to go into like what those are, but like, Google and Claude are great resources for that. But you can really do either one. It really just is a personal preference, but either one is an
Okay.
option.
Awesome. Yeah, I didn't know there was one way or the other, but I have an LLC, but then I do have to have that a separate license for the agency as well as myself in every state, right?
Yes.
So then
Yep.
there's
So
that cost.
basically, you're maintaining two licenses. And I will say, there are a lot of pros. The cons are the agency licenses are for a lot of states freaking a pain in the butt. I don't know if I can cuss on your podcast, Corey, but they're such a pain in the butt.
Caden's been on here before, you know how he talks. So
Okay, okay.
all bets are
They're a
off.
pain in the ass, is what I really wanted to say. They're a pain in the ass. There's a bunch of different state requirements. Like you're having to send in so much more paperwork. Like with
Yeah.
an individual license, like you're just having to go on an NIPR and like getting a license.
Yeah.
With an agency, you're having to provide a bunch of business documents, for I would say like 20% of the states, like you have to register with the state and then provide all the documents. And then, so it is a process. Again, depending on how big you want to grow your agency, it can be worth it. But yeah,
Okay. Well, I mean, if I get to a certain size, maybe it makes sense, but I would have somebody else
yeah,
hired to do it for me then, I guess,
yes,
which you well know of. So,
I do. Yes.
so what are the responsibilities of the upline in the relationship? I come in and I'm under Kaden. What are his responsibilities in terms of me and all of his other directs?
Yeah, I would say, and I'm going to speak just from, I'm not going to speak generically. I'm going to speak just from how we do it with Kaden, with Sniper, with our downlines.
Sure.
I would say like your responsibility as an upline is to make sure that everybody you onboard has what they need to succeed, right? And so that's going to come down to like scripting. It's going to come down to training, resources, making sure that they have a system to plug into. With our school community, like you've probably seen, like we have a lot of people that come in there and they're like, yeah, I just basically got handed a script and told to buy leads. And so really it's just providing the support, especially with the experience we had working with committed coaches. It was like, that's a real company. The agents are, they're working for the company. And so it's like providing similar resources you would as if you were paying for the leads yourself.
Yeah. I mean, why do some people just say, here's a script, go sell, as opposed to your guys' model where you want to support agents, teach them how to sell and make sure they're successful? What's the less churn, I assume, better return on
It's
investment?
yeah, doing it that way, it's like it's very MLM style. And so it's not to say it doesn't work, because there are millionaires and MLMs, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so it really though is just throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. And if you do it in masses, it does work. And the person at the top makes a lot of money. And
Mhm.
so if you are the person at the top, cool.
Yeah.
You win. But like also like where Kaden and I came from was like we didn't feel good about that being the people at the top. Like it was
Right.
like we didn't want to watch a bunch of people fail and watch a bunch of people put money down the drain knowing they weren't going to succeed. Like that's not the vision that we
Yeah.
had.
Yeah. Well, it shows the kind of people you are, the two to have that kind of
Yeah.
thought process. Um, so in terms of, is there any compliance requirements that you guys are tasked with your downlines?
Um Not necessarily. It's going to be like anything licensing, like making sure that Caden's licenses are all good to go, which, we have 50 of them. So, making sure those are all compliant so that, nobody's business is being held up or whatever. But other than that, there's not a bunch of compliance now.
Okay. And that, I'm going to come back to that because that raised another couple of questions here. But when so obviously building an agency comes down to recruiting. And Kaden built a really big audience with what he's done with Seventh Level and his own training and school, and his reputation precedes him now. And it maybe didn't always, but he he probably has an easier time recruiting people than somebody like me, who's I've got 15 videos on Instagram and they're not usually about insurance. So, well, how do I go about recruiting, finding people, and what do I look for?
It's so that's the thing is like you really, I would say the first step is to figure out what type of agency you want to build. The way Caden did it isn't how a lot of people do it. Caden really focused in on himself, his own network, his own skills, building people close to him first. When I started working for him, it was like 2.5 years ago now. um he wasn't posting on social media and he wasn't interested in it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy because you have so much value that you can provide to people. And so our
Yeah.
compromise, like if you look back on Caden's Instagram the past 2 years, it is 100%. I think there might be like one or two videos in the past 2 years that are not this, but it's all basically just recorded sales trainings from the team, like his
Okay.
team trainings. And I just was like, I have to do what I like, this is what I have to work with.
Yeah.
And so I just cropped them down into reels and people got a lot of value out of it. And I think the funny thing with Caden, and it's, not to discredit, like he's very much earned this level of respect, but we don't recruit actively. Like it is 100%. And we have 10, 20 people on every single week's opportunity calls just because he provides so much value. Like
Wow.
he is truly just wanting to like help people. And like he obviously gave me the go ahead before I started posting reels from training videos, but
Mhm.
like the intent was just to put value out there,
Yeah.
and it was just like to help people. And people saw that and they just book in like from his link. There's not even any like communication, like there's no DMs. Like if you've ever DM'd Kaden, there's a 50-50 shot. I was the one to respond to you. Like, and there's no hard recruiting, which is what 99% of people in this space do.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible. So really, to replicate that, you really have to have. So is it coming from? Well, it has to be coming from the social media presence then, because without it, who would know who he is, right?
Yeah, he does. I mean, that is the benefit of he coached at seventh level for so
Right.
long, is that people do still know him in the space. And that was, I mean, that it all kind of ties together, it's all
Yeah.
kind of like this like interwebbed thing. But
Yeah.
like people know him in this space, like they know, like that's how we found him. Is somebody was like, oh yeah, if you're looking for insurance training, like this is the guy. And that's who my former upline was connected with, was Caden, because they were like, yeah, he's the go-to guy if you're looking for insurance training. And just people in the space know him because of that.
Yeah. So I imagine that brings you more licensed agents than non-licensed agents. You have to worry about that whole hassle. Is it?
Yeah, I mean, we do. Like we do get some. I would say primarily, and I would say more of it started happening when we were working with committed coaches, like a couple years ago when we
Oh.
started working with committed coaches, just because that's a worldwide company. It's high ticket sales. And so we did start getting some people that were unlicensed that were like, oh, maybe insurance might be right for me.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, primarily speaking, it's people that are already licensed in the space. They're looking for answers that are not commonly found in our
Okay.
space.
Got it. So I may have to repurpose some of these reels from the podcast into my own recruiting funnel somehow, I imagine.
Yeah,
Um,
go for
I
it.
might ask for your help on that, but maybe not.
Yeah,
So
you can.
if you have a non-licensed person coming through, what have you seen in terms of those people sticking versus the ones who are already licensed? Have you seen a different?
Not a big difference. No, it's about the same. I would say, because we send people like we've got a recommended course that we like. It's just insurance, and we just like them. The support is significantly better than the other licensing courses we've seen. And so we send them the link, we interview them just the same. Basically, it's like, hey, go do this course, do it in a couple weeks, and then shoot us an email once you have your license. And I
Okay.
would say the turnaround rate is about the same from people we interview that already have their license.
Okay. Have you been doing more stringent interviews? And I think when I feel like when I came in, I was, I don't know if it didn't seem, I would say it wasn't hard to get in, but I came in through with Dana and mentioned that I was following Caden, and she just kind of put me on that team. But are you interviewing people to make sure that you're getting the right ones in, or what's the process look like for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do our process is we do an opportunity call. So that's just like group. It's more webinar style where Kaden just kind of gets on, talks about the offer. Um, I would argue the biggest difference is like it's not selling people on the offer. If anything, it's actually trying to push people away,
Yeah,
which I think is a great strategy, especially for life insurance because it's fucking hard. Like
it's really
I've
hard.
literally sold it myself. It is hard. It is not for everybody, and a lot of people just go, kind of pitch it as like a get rich quick. And so
Yeah.
we do our opportunity call. If people are interested after learning more about the offer, then we do book in a one-on-one interview after
Yeah.
that. And so we do meet with people one-on-one. And really it's like a two-way interview. It's like Caden's obviously going to ask questions, like we
Mhm.
really want to make sure that people have good character. Kaden says all the time, like, if you're a piece of shit, I'm not trying to change that. And it's very true. Like, if
Yeah.
you're a piece of shit, if you have bad intentions, like, we don't want to fucking work with you. And so
Yeah.
we do look for that. Another big one is going to be like internal. I don't know how like psychology you've researched, but like internal versus external locus of control. And so like we
Yeah.
really want the people that are focused on like internal, like
Mhm.
those are the people that are like, what's in my control?
Yeah.
Because in sales, you just meet a lot of people that are like blaming the leads, blaming the this, blaming the offer, blaming the. We don't want to work with those people.
Right.
Those people are just, it's like, we can provide all the resources, but they're always going to find something wrong. So we want the people that are focused on like what can I do, what's in my control, and then work ethic.
Yeah.
Obviously, that one's probably a given, but like we can train skills all day long. If you have a good work ethic and shitty skills, it's trainable, so trainable.
Mhm.
But even if you have good skills and a shitty work ethic, we can't do anything with that. Like,
Yeah.
and so that's really what we're looking for in like a one-on-one interview. And then after that, it's just onboarding,
Oh,
contracting and onboarding.
okay. Got it. Um, so back to like carriers and licensing, and then I kind of want to bring carriers into this. What happens when a downline, obviously you have all 50 states for Cadence, so that's not really an issue. If I get a license in Massachusetts or wherever that he's set for there. What if I get contracted with a carrier that he doesn't have? How does that line up?
Well, you
Is there any
couldn't.
delays or, oh, I couldn't. Okay.
Yeah, you couldn't. Your upline would need to have, I mean, there's obviously exceptions to everything, but like we'll just
Mhm.
talk generalities. So your upline does need to have the contract. Like that's why Caden has about 50 carriers at this point, because we do get people coming from different IMOs with waiting periods and all the things. So we do avoid that at all costs. If, again, one-off situations, like we just kind of bypass Caden, go to Dana and have somebody contracted to Dana for whatever carrier they need.
Okay. Gotcha. So there's really never a gap where somebody's writing business that he's not getting the override on. Okay. Perfect.
Yep.
What about like guardrails? What are some best practices or bad practices to have in place to make sure that you're not hiring a bunch of people who are going to burn you with roll up debt? And we'll get to that in here in a second, but just burn you with reputation, roll up debt, being a cancer to thing. Like, what are some of the things you make sure are in place for your new agents?
I think, well, one thing is as the upline, like you have to have proper expectations.
Yeah.
Because no matter what guardrails you put in place, it will happen. It has
Yeah.
happened. I've seen it happen. I have paid a significant, I don't know if Caden cares. I'm not going to say the amount, but I have paid on his behalf a significant amount of roll up debt.
Yeah.
And it just at the end of the day, like it's unavoidable. And so what I would say, like the cautionary, like as the upline, the guardrail for yourself is, do I have the capital to be able to like take that risk on? And if the answer is no, it is not time for you to build a team.
Got it. Well, that's a very clarifying answer because if an agent's struggling, like I've been doing okay, but consistency is still eluding me. I'm getting there, but I wouldn't say I have a boatload of cash just waiting for people to quit on me and roll up their debt. Are there any things you can do to help kind of keep them on the hook for that debt if they leave?
I mean, they'll just be out of the business. It's
Okay.
not like, because if they roll up debt to you, then they get vectored. And so Vector is just a reporting agency. And so Vector, if you roll up debt to your upline with any one carrier, Vector is the reporting agency that will tell every other insurance company,
Oh, okay.
hey, this guy doesn't pay his debt. And so you're basically blacklisted from getting contracted anywhere else. And so
Wow.
I mean, it sounds like a nice guardrail in theory, but typically the kind of people that are rolling up debt like that are so financially unstable that they are going to make it in insurance anyways. And so they don't really care.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. But that's the first time I've heard the term vectored before because
Yeah.
that's kind of a deterrent because if it's something you want to still want to stay in for example, I mean, there's free lead programs, right? I could go to a free
Hmm.
lead program, but if I'm vectored, I'm not getting that contract. Is that
Correct. Yeah,
got
you
it?
can't get contracted anywhere. Like it's happened, like where we didn't know about a debt. And technically we got vectored. And so, we had to provide a bunch of paperwork, a bunch of documents. We had to pay down a bunch of debt that, there was a bunch of stuff. It was with the agency, former owner, yada yada.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, once we took over the agency LLC title, yeah, we had to pay a bunch of stuff
Oh wow.
for
Okay.
that.
So I mean, that's kind of a um, it's kind of a gotcha. I mean, if you don't know about it, how are you tracking all of it? Because you have to go to every carrier to see it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you get emails for it. And this all happened right when I started working for Kaden. So, it's one of those like you don't know till you know.
Yeah.
And we figured it all out, it's all resolved now. But yeah, it can get expensive, it can get stressful, it's a massive pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You have to get a bunch of people involved. So yeah, I would just say like, if thankfully, obviously Caden's in a position where he was like, "Oh, there's the debt. Okay, let's just pay it. Like
Yeah.
take care of it." But like if you don't have that ability, that's where I see, the former IMO that we were with, I knew a guy who did the MLM recruiting style thing and he had like 100 grand roll up to him and like eviction notices, like it was crazy. But like on the outside, it was like leaderboards crushing, like whatever.
Right.
Um, and it's like I've known of, a few more people with that IMO where yeah, it's not all what it seems. And so I think just making sure that you have the capital to be able to support the downs because there will be downs and people that tell you otherwise are trying to, I guess, get your money. So
R-
they don't
right.
have as many downs.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Like Elvir Bazdarovich, he came from another IMO, but he wouldn't leave that IMO until he had $150,000 in roll-up debt go away.
Mhm. Yeah,
Are
but
you
you
able to
can't.
work that off, or are you able to? How do you? So
No,
you
you
have
have to pay that off completely before you can transfer your
so you
contracts.
like writing new business wouldn't. I mean that contributes to it, but you have to.
It
It's got to
does.
be paid and okay. So you can pay it
Yeah,
off
you
with.
can. That's
Okay.
that's kind of like the rabbit hole that a lot of like even new agents, not just agency owners, but like even new agents get into is like, and that's why I know because you're contracted with us, but like that's why we keep the carriers that you guys get initially so tight.
Yeah.
Because if you've got 20 carriers that you're writing business across, and then you're just like chasing fucking chargebacks and like you're
Yeah.
never actually making money, you're just chasing chargebacks between carriers. And so yes, if you write business, it will bring down your chargeback debt, but then you're also not making money while you're spending money on leads. And it's like that's how people get into the hole in insurance.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, I've had a couple of. I had one chargeback that I had to kind of work off with just new business because. But
Yeah.
that's a good point because yeah, there's some carriers you kind of gravitate toward and you start, and then shiny object. I got to get this carrier for this thing, and I got to. Pretty
Yeah.
soon you have 18 carriers and you're writing some with everybody. But yeah, it makes sense to go with like a tier one, a tier two, and a guaranteed issue carrier and just try to stay in those
Yeah, it's
lanes.
like find your like three, four. It's like we'll give you like seven typically when we
Uh-huh.
onboard people, but like I would say like find your top like three or four and keep as much business as you can. It's like obviously use your brain and like have good intentions for the client. Like if you have one that you need to write somewhere else, do it.
Hmm.
But I would say a lot of agents that I see that are actually succeeding in insurance are like have their core carriers and they like them for a specific reason, whether
Yeah.
it be the signing process, the acceptance rate, like whatever it may be, the
Hmm.
low premiums, they have them and they stick with them because then when you get a chargeback, it's like you're still continuously writing so much business that it's
Yeah.
like, okay, now I only just made 20% less of what I thought I would this month versus now I'm in all this crazy debt with all these different carriers.
Yeah. That's a really good point. And I think a lot of agents they just think they got to have all these carriers to make sure they can service every client, and then they just pick the lowest price anyway.
Yeah.
So I mean, it doesn't matter. And
Yeah.
I found price just doesn't really come into the conversation much because it's tied directly to coverage. You just lower the coverage to lower the price. It's easy. So stick with your same
Yeah.
carrier and it's not a big deal. But yeah,
Well,
I
that's
mean,
the thing is like if you're building enough value on your sales calls, like $5 does not make a difference. If you've built trust and value, they trust you. You know what I mean? Like, because I do get a lot of DMs from agents. Like, we've got about 100 agents now at this point, and like I do get a lot of DMs like, hey, can I get this contract? Like it was $5 cheaper. And like I get it. I do get it.
uh,
But like it's like I mean, if you're just getting a different carrier for every single one-off scenario, it's like you're chasing a symptom. You're chasing a band-aid to put on the fact that you can't build enough value or trust for people to just trust your recommendation
yeah,
of the carrier. You know what I mean?
yeah. I know one conversation you and I had, I was looking for another guaranteed issue carrier that had voice signature because people were having a hard time doing the e-sign with the one that I had. And I still think I've written one policy with this other carrier, but it didn't pay. It's like, whatever. It's
Yeah.
just, but so let's talk about the spread, like the commission spread. How does an upline or an agency owner get paid? And then what does it look like when there is a producer who quits and then has chargebacks?
So, yeah, two-part question, very different answers. I'll start with the first one. So, how the spread works and what I would this is going to be my opinion, my recommendation, but what I would recommend is you want to have at least like a 20-30% spread on your downlines. If not, it's this is a rabbit hole, but the way it works is so like, let's say, you have a brand new agent that's brought on at an 85% contract rate.
Yep.
You're at 100. Okay, cool. You have a 15% spread on them, and that will be your override. So you get 15% of whatever their commissions are going to be, basically. And so you're getting that 15%. And so it's not a bad one, but like if they get a chargeback, you're also getting the chargeback. And then if they roll that up to you, it's like you're losing money. You know what I mean? And so like I think it does go hand in hand with like your level of experience, because like if you are an experienced consistent agent, you're going to get raises and you're going to be up a little bit higher. I would say like for myself, I would not bring downline agents on until I'm at least like at 115, 120 minimum.
Sure.
Like ideally it's higher, but I also get it, like if you are recruiting very intentionally,
Yeah.
I think cool. If you're recruiting for the masses, that's where I think it gets really dangerous. Basically like cuz what I've seen especially with the other IMO that we were at before is, you're bringing people on at 85, you're at 100, or no, you're at like 90. And so it's like you have a 5% spread. And so like you're not one making very much in overrides.
Right.
And then two, when those policies charge back and they roll up debt to you, it's like you're in the hole significantly.
Yeah. You made five just to pay back 90.
Exactly. And so it's like you really need like a decent spread to where when you do, because it's not even an if, it's when you get roll up debt, it doesn't
Mhm.
hit you that hard.
Yeah. You probably need several agents to kind of spread it out too a little bit so you have some consistent, because they're not all going to stick, but they're not all going to, some will stick. You got to have some kind of built-ins, right? Like I don't know if
Yeah,
there's a
well,
sweet
and it's
spot.
the thing is like, I mean, people don't come into the industry with bad intentions 99% of the time. It's just like
Mhm.
it's hard. Like it's hard. And a lot
Yeah.
of, again, this is why we do things so differently, because a lot of places are like steamroll, read the script, push people through, like let's just make sure we can get you approved first, and like they're pushing policies through that they know are going to charge back.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, the override feels good for a second. But then, like, when you get that roll up debt because your agent is dead broke because you had them buy a bunch of shitty ass leads and gave them no training, like, no shit, they don't know how to save that policy. Like,
Yeah.
of course it's going to roll up to you.
I mean, shitty leads are a good way to learn because they're cheap, but
They are, but
they
like, you
come with
also
a
have to
different,
provide like training on them. You can't just be like, hey, read the script and that's going to work every time. And like, call these
yeah.
people that don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
So what's the upside look like then? That's kind of like when you're bringing people in at the bottom and you're not much above them. But if I'm a, if, I think the cap here is 145%, if I recall.
Mhm.
And I
Yep.
would imagine, so that's where Dana's at, I'm sure. And maybe she's got other compensation that I don't know about, but that's none of my business. And I assume Caden's there too because he's producing at the level that they require to be at that. So if they're both at 145%, does Dana still make money on Caden, or do you still make money under the downline, or is there other things that come after that?
So yes, so Kaden is still under Dana. We are still Dana's downline. So we are at a lower, I don't know everybody's comp to be clear, but we are
Yeah.
still a level or two below Dana. But how it works, to answer your question, is how it works like if we do get to the point where we are matched with comp levels with Dana, it works like a bonus. And so
Uh,
I don't know the number specifically off the top of my head, but it is a percent. I want to say it's like 2% or 2.5%
okay.
of the agency downline. So like if Sniper met Dana in comp level and we were both at the highest comp level,
Hmm.
then, if we're making a certain amount of money a month, then Dana would basically just get a bonus percent
Okay.
on our production.
All right. I mean, it's down the road, like at least 6 months for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's probably at least 6 months or more for us too. It's multiple millions of dollars that we need to be hitting to get everybody there.
got it. So with lasting mark, and I don't know if this applies to other IMOs, you probably do, but there's a producer track and there's an agency track. And agency track just means you have a team, right?
Mhm.
You don't have to be agency licensed. But as you grow, the production levels are different to get promotions. Are there any other requirements for an agency track, or is it just a matter of having people under you?
Yeah, so it's basically just the way that it's being tracked. So like for your promotions, like if you're at an agent level, it's
Hmm.
like you're tracked on like don't quote me on the exact numbers, but I think it's like 5, 10, 15, 20, and like it goes up like that way is how you get your promotions. If you're in an agency, obviously the requirement is going to be a little bit higher. Like if you have
Sure.
a team that's working under you, and so it's your agency production. And so that's why we're all so crazy about submitting your sales to Link because that's how it's tracked. And so basically, once you're submitting your sales into the agent dashboard, it's going to take the entire people. So, like if you submit your sale, that counts for Sniper Insurance.
Right.
And so it's taking Sniper Insurance as a whole and saying, okay, how much submitted business did they do this month? And that's what they're basing the agency track off of for the promotions for the agency.
Okay. So as soon as I have somebody underneath me, now I'm on the agency track automatically,
It's up to
or
you. Like it is up to you. And as soon as you have one single downline, you can be like, hey, I want my own agency. Cool. Like all we do is like connect you with the person that does the back end tech stuff and we enter it into Link. And then you have your like Ashton, for example, is a
sure.
perfect example. So he's got Sovereign Grace Financial.
Okay.
And so his agency shows up as an agency within Sniper. And so
Okay.
Ashton, now that he's got his Sovereign Grace Financial reporting metrics,
Hmm.
he's also tracking for the agency raises as well now.
Okay. So but I have to tell somebody I want to be on the agency track. Otherwise, I can still have downlines and stay in the producer track because it's easier to get promotions just focusing on myself and my own skills and raises, right? Is that
Yeah. So
an accurate
yeah, and
statement?
you could do them concurrently too. It does get it's all a little tricky, but like you can do them concurrently.
Oh, how do you get it? Yeah, I mean, how would they? I guess if you hit one target or the other, then you probably still get the rate. Can you advance on like almost ladder step it? Like I'm advancing as a producer this month, and then next month as an agency, and then as a producer, can you do that?
It's every because all of them, even agency, like individual producer or agency,
Uh-huh.
is you have to hit it for 3 months consecutively
Okay.
to get the bump. But yeah, either one would get you the bump. So
Oh,
it's kind of like an either or, whichever is higher
sure.
scenario.
Okay, makes sense. I've heard the term in other interviews, LOA, like license only agents. I've never even heard that term. I don't know what it is. How does that come into play when recruiting? Maybe is it for different product lines, or what does that even
It
mean, or how does it affect anybody?
Yeah, it's basically the way you're bringing on agents. And so we haven't done it and probably won't, like never say never, but we
Mhm.
probably won't do that. And so basically it's just you're hiring people on similar to like a W-2. And so it's kind of like similar to like free lead program where like you're bringing people on, they work for you. They're making, you could set the com percent whatever you want, but like average 10% comms, you're providing all the leads, you're and so it's very much like you're just kind of setting them up like a high ticket offer, like a W-2 situation.
Oh, okay. So then, like in Medicare, there's only like two or three levels you can take overrides on. That's where I've heard it is in that context, and that makes sense now why they would do that. I didn't understand
Yep.
the difference. Okay. So we've kind of covered a lot of these, but like, when should an agent whose goal it is to build a team start recruiting? I know you said you have to be kind of financially viable. Um, there's some other kind of guardrails, but what's your checklist? If you're saying, Corey, I know you want to recruit, but you should check all these boxes first. What does that look like?
I would say, I mean, financials are going to be a big piece, but like as a person, like an individual person, I would say the boxes you need to check are going to be you're consistently producing yourself and you're confident in it.
Okay.
That's a big one where, I think you need to be in the place where if a new agent calls you and says, "Hey, I have a client on the phone, I need help closing this deal." You need to be in a place where you can confidently get on there with them and
Sure.
help them close the deal and teach them.
Okay.
And like teaching them is also another big piece. I know it's a little bit different with Sniper because like we have Kaden and like Kaden is willing to just like every downline, like you can throw all your agents in there. But
Hmm.
I do still think there's something to be said for being able to help your agents from
Yeah.
experience.
Right.
Because like I myself have thought about like building a downline because I very much could, but I'm like I haven't sold it much yet myself. And I'm like, I would feel irresponsible
Sure.
bringing people onto a team where like even though I have Caden's support, like I can't answer a lot of these questions. You know what I mean? And so like that's why I've always just like been like, skirt, I'm gonna not do that. And so I think just like having the experience, being consistent at it, um, and really just like a lot of personal development, which is funny, but like I mean, it's super true. It's like you have to be like a followable person for people
Yeah.
to want to listen to what you have to say, um, and take your advice. It's like, yes, they will have Kaden, but like as their immediate upline, it's like you still want to be able to answer their questions and like do it confidently to where it's actually going to help them.
Right. I've always felt like in a coaching situation, or even if we're on Zoom, another rep's having trouble, if they shared the screen, I feel like I could help them through that. But doing it myself, when it's me executing, my confidence level drops. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe those who can't do teach, that's where I come in. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can explain the process. You know, I can understand. I understand the script. I understand the reasoning for most of what's in there and why it's there. Not all of it. Still working on that. But what other check boxes is it? Is there a magic number in terms of financials that you would say?
No, because it's going to vary dependent on the person. Like some people are going to feel comfortable taking risk when they have 10 grand in the bank. Some people are going to feel comfortable when they have 2 grand in the bank. Some people are not going to feel comfortable until they have 100 grand in the bank.
Sure.
And so I think your level of comfortability, though, is what's going to dictate how you show up as a leader.
Yeah.
Like how you show up, like your level of confidence is going to tie back to that to some degree.
Yeah. If I'm stressed about the paycheck, it's probably not going to be the best version of me showing up and leading. It
Correct.
might turn into more of a boiler room situation where smile and
Yeah,
dial and shut up. And so, yeah, that's,
exactly. Well, and you get kind of like you get on edge, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm a single mom. It's not like I've never been broke. Like I get stressed about money, like
yeah,
so when I was in those moments, like there's no way I could have been able to like confidently lead somebody else to sell something,
yeah.
you know?
It's wild how, I mean, this job has really exposed the fact that if you're feeling a certain way, it comes right out in your voice, whether you want it to or not.
Yes.
There's no,
Yes.
and I've always kind of said I wear my emotions on my sleeve, but boy, is that very evident in this environment. So, um,
Yes.
do you do any kind of tracking or anything like that for downline agents, or do you um, what
A
do you
lot
keep
of
track
it.
of as an upline? What's that?
I said a lot of it. Yes.
Okay,
That is, I would say, the primary of what I do.
okay,
Is really just tracking and keeping stuff in order. So yes, I've got a very in-depth spreadsheet. Claude is my go-to helper assistant with that. But yeah, everybody we onboard, basically, if we send you onboarding documents, you're in the sheet. It's broken down by, I mean, you know this because you're in Sniper, but we have our team broken down to contracting. So like once you're waiting on carrier contracts, you're in a group.
Okay.
Once you're into onboarding, that basically just means you're in the phase of learning the script, getting ready to be on the phones. And so that's broken down into a group. Training camp is, you're passed off, we know your skill level, we've recommended leads to you, you're brand new getting on the phones.
Mhm.
That's also in a group. And then we have tiered out training. So like we have tier 1 and tier 2, and those are just based by production levels. And so just basically training different like skill levels, different tactics, stuff like that. And so those are broken down into a group. And so I'm following up with every group at least once a week, some of them twice a week, depending on where they're at in the process.
Okay.
And so, yes, that is all tracked. It's all very much a thing.
That sounds like a bulk of your time. What kinds of things are you tracking? Just like if they're making money, if they're producing, if they're active, like what kinds of things are you tracking as an upline that the agent maybe isn't tracking?
Yeah, all of the above. Transparently, it really is all of the above. Me specifically working with Kaden, what I'm tracking is their progress level. So like I'm just looking for making sure people are getting through each stage of the onboarding process as quickly as possible. So like I'm looking for everybody to only be in each section for like a week or two.
Okay.
Obviously, once you get into like the tier 1, tier 2, it's like that's on production. And so like we do have people that stay in the training camp a little bit longer.
Mhm.
But I'm really just looking to like push people through that process and get them profitable as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Kaden is the one that does. So, like, if you're taking the upline as a whole, Kaden is the one that's tracking, the metrics, the conversations over 20 seconds, conversations over 2 minutes, presentations, closes, stuff like that, and really deep diving into that with the agents.
Okay. Awesome. I I've learned way more than I thought I was going to learn today. I thought I knew a lot of it, but I mean that's the whole point of the podcast is just to pull back the cover so new agents can figure it out because I know you see it all the time. New agents come in, they have 2 good months and they start recruiting and then they're driving Lambos, right? That's awesome. And then the
Yeah.
next month you don't hear anything from them. So like they're gone. It's
Yeah.
kind of sad.
We have onboarded some of those for whatever it's worth. It's like it happens to everybody. We have onboarded people that do shit like that.
Yeah.
Like,
It's probably a youth thing. I probably would have done it in my 20s too. I mean, a lot of times I'd say I wish I was in the same position as, some of the young guys we have here who are starting to figure it out and produce and they're 21 and I'm, just turned 50. So I'm still trying to figure things out too. But it's,
yeah.
you
I
know,
will say there's something to be said for the 20 to 30-year
mm,
olds
yeah.
that are doing this shit before they have families, but before they have kids.
Oh, yeah.
Because like for myself, I would have never taken the risk, worked this hard. I would have never done that if it weren't for my big why of like, I'm not putting Jamie in daycare.
Right.
And like,
Yeah.
I'm just being transparent, like I've got a good work ethic, but like, I would have never put myself through how much hard work this is without that. And so, like, it is still always crazy to me when I see these 20-year-olds that I'm like, damn, you just are doing that to do it because like
Yeah.
you want to work hard. Like, that's impressive.
Yeah. They don't even probably know what their why is, but they're like, I'm going to go make a bunch of money and that's just how
Yeah.
it's going to work. And
They're just like willing to grind it out without even that big of a why. And it's crazy impressive.
yeah, it's really cool. They're going to set themselves up pretty well, but they may be like me and have 3 careers by the time they're 50. Who knows? But
Who
it's hard to say.
knows?
Is there anything else that we should pull the covers back on for recruiting and scaling agency that we haven't talked about?
I
The
would
answer is
just
yeah.
say,
It doesn't
like,
matter what you're going to say.
yeah, well, no, I was thinking some like, I think the biggest thing is like, don't look for a black and white answer. Like, really look within yourself. Like, and this is going to sound super fucking woo woo, but like,
I
look
love
within
woo.
yourself and like really figure out like if that's what you want to do. Cause like I told you before, like I've gone back and forth with building a downline. Like I
Yeah,
am actually my corporate background in retail was training and people development and people leadership. And like I have the background. I love doing it. And
yeah,
so it has crossed my mind multiple. Kaden and I have had this conversation multiple times about me building a downline
yeah,
because I would be good at it.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's not what I'm actually passionate about. Like what I'm actually passionate about is the operational side of things and like building shit out and like doing that stuff, and that's why I've just done that for so long. And that's why I'll keep doing that with Kaden for so long is, and so I think it's different for every person. You have to really consider, do I want to be responsible for all these people?
Yeah.
Because you can make a lot of money as a producer. Like
Hmm.
all you take the time you put into a team and just go learn about advanced markets.
Yeah.
You make probably the same amount of money, if not maybe more, with less risk because you don't have other people right in the business.
Yeah.
And so it's like you really just have to figure out why you want the path you want.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know why, then it's like it is easy. It sounds easy. I guess it's not easy, but it sounds easy to just be like, oh, well, a bunch of other people can go write the business. I'll get the override. It's like, okay, yes, that sounds good in theory,
Yeah.
but that means you're supporting all of your downline agents, and that is your job. That's your
Yeah.
primary job, is supporting people. And if
Yeah.
you don't have a passion for that, you're going to be bad at it. They're going to
Right.
feel that you don't want to be doing that, and they're not going to produce very well. You know what I mean?
Hmm. I was a, I've been a sports coach for my entire adult life, hockey and lacrosse and soccer and whatever. And I was also a coaching education trainer for USA Hockey and US Lacrosse. I love teaching people, supporting people, training people. I love leading them to their own successes. But yeah, it's one thing that kind of scares me a little bit about recruiting is, hey, you can make a lot of money. It's really hard. You're going to have to go through some shit to figure this out, but you can do really well. What I don't want to happen is that they still ultimately fail because they didn't do the work, and now I'm the asshole. You know what I mean? Because
The thing is, though, is like they will.
yeah.
And like for you, I'm just talking to you specifically, but like for
Mhm.
you, it's like you have to get to the point where you're okay with that
Yeah.
because, and it is kind of hard when you're like after you become a parent to see people fail. Like I feel like there's a different level of
Yeah.
hard that goes to, but like you have to be okay with like understanding like they are also adults, and if they don't put in the work
Yeah.
and they don't do it, like that's not on you. You can provide all the training, all the systems, all the resources in the world,
Yeah.
but like people will fail. There is a
Yeah.
high churn rate in sales for a reason. It is hard work. Well, the
Yeah.
the CEO at Committed Coaches, like on a call one time, said, "Yeah, commission only jobs are hard,"
Yeah. They
and
will
that's because they are.
test you. They
They're
will
really hard.
make you develop personally. Yeah, it's crazy. And the parenting thing, it's a good metaphor. I would say as a father, I want my kids to fail. I want them to scrape their knees because I want them to learn from the experience. So from that perspective, yeah, you can do this. It's very hard. If you fail, I'll be there to support you. But if you fail and you quit, that's on you. And I'm okay with that too. I realize I can't save everybody. Just like
Yeah.
when I buy 20 leads and I only get to talk to 10 of them. They're just not going to pick up the phone. I can't sell them all, right? But it's a
Yeah.
numbers game. So I'm okay with that. And they don't work in my same office, so they're not going to come and blow me up probably.
Yeah. It's like you can't take the personal responsibility for the people that were never going to win in the first place. And that sounds kind of harsh. Um, but like the real, like, just working with Kaden for as long as I have, like I've seen thousands of salespeople come through and work on our teams. And at first I was like, oh, let's work with this person. Or like, Kate, actually, Kate, I'm going to be real. Actually, let me take that back. Kaden is the one that says that more than me. I'm usually the one that's like, let's cut this person. And he's like, well, let's just see how they do.
Yeah.
I'll give him credit where credit is due. But it's just like at the end of the day, it's like you can't take personal responsibility for other grown adults.
Right.
Like you can give them, like you can pour into them all day long, but some people like just will not do anything with it.
Yeah.
They just won't. And you can't take that personally. And I think until you're at that point where you're ready to not take that personally,
Yeah.
that's like the biggest, and that's hard to find within yourself. You know what I mean?
You really have to do a lot of self-reflection, and that's really with everything in this role, it seems like.
Yeah.
So one last question I ask every guest. It might be a little bit different for you, but I always ask them if somebody wants to buy a policy from you or work with you, how can they find you? On Instagram, Life with Whitney. I'm going to post that. But
Yes.
um, do you have any other? Are you if you want to work with Whitney with Kaden, like what? How should we send people to you, or do you want us to?
Yeah. If I have all sorts of different things. So if you want to buy a policy from me, I'm fully contracted. DM me on Instagram. Happy to help with that.
Nice.
If you want to work with us, actually head to Caden's Instagram. So the underscore Kaden Sanchez, link in the bio to hop on one of our opportunity calls. Um, and then marketing. I actually did marketing a lot before I worked with Kaden. So if you have any marketing needs, I am actually quite good at that.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. I always love our conversations, and I think you are the ultimate hype girl. I love talking to you,
Thank
love
you.
interacting with you. You're always so positive and fun. And, if I have to be talked off a cliff, I try not to drag you down, but sometimes I just reach out and talk to Whitney. So,
I love that. That's the
but
biggest compliment ever.
well, thanks for listening to the Dialing for Dollars podcast. If you enjoyed the show, like, subscribe, and share it with another agent who's still calling leads at 8 p.m. Have a good one.